morning. Welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Lorene Tanaka. We are here this morning with Brandon Elefante, and he is a city council member. Thank you so much for being here, Brandon.
Thank you, Lorene. Happy to be here.
Oh, now there's so much going on in the city council, but before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I was born and raised in the Aya Pro City area. I'm a proud graduate of public schools in the area.
Yay.
Graduated from Aya High School. I know one of the questions I get a lot is, how old are you?
Oh.
But I'm happy, to be born and raised here. I went away for school, and it was actually during my time away where I really had a passion and love for service. Worked in homeless shelters in the San Francisco Bay Area in Berkeley, and at the St. Vincent de Paul in Oakland, as well as St. Anthony's in the San Francisco in the Tenderloin District. And also did voter outreach as well. So I attended St. Mary's College, graduated there with a degree in economics and business. And working, with voter registration and the homeless folks in that area really gave me an idea for my calling.
Right, what's going on right here.
Absolutely. And so I didn't realize it at that time. Coming home, then, I was a teacher. So I taught at Damien Memorial High School, the juniors and seniors. I taught world religions and social justice issues, and was a golf coach there for several years.
Wow, you have a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, and it was really fun to work with the young men and really see them grow and see them go for their dreams and whatnot. And so I decided I wanted to do much more than that. So I got involved in government service, worked briefly at the state legislature, and where I kind of led up to where I am today was sort of faith and everything that just kind of brought it all together. So my former boss, my predecessor, Council Member Breen Harimoto, who's now a state senator.
Yes, he's been a frequent guest on the show,
Yes, he has.
right?
Yes, and he's really enjoyed his time here. He, decided to run for state senate, which was David Ige's old seat. And as we know, David Ige became our governor.
Yes.
And Council Member Harimoto won his seat, and I was fortunate enough to run for his open seat.
So here you are now.
And here I am today, yeah. So I've been with him the last 4 years, and I'm just excited to work on a number of issues and happy to serve the people.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for doing what you do. Can you start by giving us an overview, just an overview of what's happening here in Hawaii from the City Council?
Sure. So just to kind of give our viewers, an idea what the City Council do, I'm one of 9 members on the council. We represent close to about 100,000 folks. My district encompasses the areas of Aiea, Pro City, and Waipahu.
Okay.
And the goal of the council is to ensure health, happiness, safety of all our residents and participation in government. And what we also do is we set policy for the city and county of Honolulu, from real property tax to our streets, to our refuse pickup, your trash, sewer, water, making sure that we have sustainable infrastructure, as well as zoning and how we kind of grow out our communities with the different plans. And as we know that there are many projects that are coming before the council that the council has authority to approve
right there in your neighborhood, we're starting to see rail come up. What's the update on rail? Sure,
yes. So rail is, on track. They've experienced some delays. Obviously, there will be some challenges ahead. That's quite known. It is one of our largest projects that we have, over $5 billion with multiple funding sources, federal, state, and city. In the district that I represent, there will be 5 rail stations. So 2 in Waipahu at Leeward Community College, the Pearl Highlands station, which will be a park and ride. So we'll have folks coming down from the Mililani, Waipio area to park at that and then be able to take the rail transit into town. And then the last station in the district will be right by Anna Miller's in Territorial Savings, would be the Pearl Ridge station.
Oh, okay.
So there, as you can see, there's a lot of construction going on.
Yes,
there's been a lot of delays.
Feel the road work.
I feel it too. Once a commute used to take 20 minutes, maybe back home to Pro City is now taking close to 40 minutes.
But this is the price of progress, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
What is your personal experience with rail?
Sure, and thank you for that question. Having lived on the mainland for several years, attending school in the Bay Area, I've got to experience riding the Bay Area Rapid Transit, the BART systems, as well as my travels in the Massachusetts area, riding the T, and other areas as well. I've seen it really benefit folks, especially folks that can't have enough funds to afford cars.
Right.
It gives people an alternative mode of transportation to use and get to places that they need to be.
Were the rail cars pretty full? I mean, were the good usage there?
Yes, I have. In fact, in a recent conference that I attended in Minneapolis, Minnesota, they just opened a new line. and I see that they have a lot of use, especially when there's events going on in their city.
Okay.
And in my recent trip to San Francisco, went to the San Francisco 49ers game, and it was heavily used, their light rail in the Silicon Valley. So people do use it as a means of transportation to get to and from places. Not only just sporting events, but events that they may need to get to, whether it may be shopping or their doctor's appointments and whatnot.
So right now we just have to kind of go through the building process, and then once it's set, then we'll be able to benefit from that.
Right. So the hope is that it will be fully operational by 2019.
2019?
Yes, right around the corner. So I'm hopeful.
Okay, okay. But as you said, things change. You know, so
Absolutely.
many things happen, but that's good. Now, what's happening on the King Street, the bike lane?
Sure.
We see that bright green lane that's been painted.
Right. So the King Street Cycle Track was one of the mayor's
Is that what
initiatives.
it's called, a cycle track?
It's called a cycle track. So what a cycle track is, it's a protected bike lane. It takes away one lane of travel lane. As you know, King Street is all one way, heading in the Diamond Head direction. And the intent for it is to protect cyclists. It's one of the mayor's priorities that he's had. I had an opportunity to ride the cycle track on the opening day. I felt very safe. It encourages me to go out there and also get a bike and use that as a form of transportation.
Is it because there were a lot of bicycle accidents that this came about?
I'm not quite sure about that. I know that in other cities across the country, they are doing this. So eventually down the road, the hope is to get it to go two ways with traffic signals so that we can have flow.
They're going to make King Street two ways?
Just the cycle track eventually.
Okay.
That's the goal. But they're testing it out to see how the pilot project will be effective. The city and county of Honolulu has an Oahu bike plan. It's a master plan on how we can connect different elements in roadways, whether it may be bike lanes like a cycle track on King Street, or just maybe sharrows in the road. We recognize that Oahu is so limited on space.
True. Especially when you're going around the island, the lanes are so one lane. Sometimes you just have one lane.
Right. And so, with that and with the county passing a recent complete streets ordinance, my predecessor, Councilmember Harimoto, was a champion for that. And what it does is it allows us to look at different areas and how we build our streets and roads. We have one of the highest fatalities in the nation with regards to pedestrian fatalities. So we have to be mindful of our kapuna, our seniors. There's that saying, right, the 880 rule, which is streets should be safe for folks as young as 8 years old and for folks as old as 80 years old.
Now, when you talk about the cycle track, the bicyclists in the cycle track have to still abide by the street lights, right?
That is correct.
So if they're coming up to an intersection and it's a red light, they have to stop.
Absolutely, yes, they have to abide by all.
Otherwise, I can't imagine the cars trying to watch for them.
Right. So yes, they have to abide by all traffic laws and whatnot. You'll notice for folks that traverse on King Street, there will be some of the roads are painted green.
Yes.
And so those are painted green in conflict areas. And what the purpose of it is to alert motorists, pedestrians that this is a cycle track, this is a bike lane, and that.
So it's not going to be green all the way through, just in the conflict areas.
Conflict areas. So most of the intersections you'll see that in other crossing
points. And conflict areas meaning where there would be high accident possible.
That, and also as driveways, if there's cars coming through, but mainly intersections.
Okay, because I thought it was just going to be, that was going to be how it was, green all the way through.
No, just in certain areas. Yeah, and you'll notice that even in other cities that they've also painted those.
So how do you know though when the green ends? Is it still a safe bike lane, a bike path?
Right. So the King Street cycle track starts from the Alapai area where the Fosse Municipal Building is, and it goes down to all the way to Eisenberg. So it'll end that, and so you'll have green lane paintings in these different intersections along the way. But however, they have what is called delineators, which are these white. Sort of looks like a stanchion. Oh,
I see. Like a kind of a rubber or plastic thing.
Right. So and they have that, and then they've put kind of an asphalt berm to kind of protect. And then so there's still street parking that's adjacent. That's kind of one lane away from the parking meter.
But you're still letting people know that this is still a safe bike path here.
Right.
Okay. It just doesn't necessarily have to be green.
Right.
Okay, got it. Oh, okay, that's interesting. You mentioned Complete Streets.
Yes.
What's the update on Complete Streets?
So I'm working, with the city administration, with the Caldwell administration, to make sure that when they look at different roadways or projects, that they use a checklist to look at all things that we can incorporate for Complete Streets, whether it may be slowing down traffic in areas, maybe
Like
putting
changing
up,
speed limits as you're getting to certain areas? Is that
not necessarily. One thing that comes to mind is last year there was 3 projects. One of the pilot projects, the first pilot projects, and the first pilot project to have this is reverse angled parking, and this is in the IAEA area. So
What does that mean?
Reverse angled parking is basically is supposed to be safer. So for the viewers, and if you're interested in ever driving to the IAEA, if you pass Oluni Street
Yes, I
in front
know
of
that area
IAEA High School, you'll notice that there are these angled parkings where instead of you kind of go forward and
straight in.
reverse diagonally in. So your trunk faces the sidewalk, so you can take all your belongings out. And when you're coming out of the driveway, you can see the oncoming cars coming out.
So
it's
they're
the
all
first to do it.
reverse parking. So
Reverse
you can't
parking.
go in head front first.
That's correct, yeah. So it's angled in a certain way, and it's kind of on a hill right by the track and field.
And the reason for that is you're not unloading your car in front of in the street.
Right.
Got
And so
it.
we've had a number of positive reviews. That was, it's a pilot project, so the administration is evaluating. But I've heard
I have
nothing
to pay
but good
attention more
things.
when I get there. Okay.
And what we did there, this is part of Complete Streets, is we've narrowed this width of the road that was like 60 or so plus feet, and kind of narrowed it down to make it safer. And I've noticed that the speed volume has gone down significantly. The high schoolers and students feel safer crossing the streets because now it kind of narrows it down to when they look and cross the street. As well as the people that utilize the track and field on football games and whatnot, they feel safer when they
So is
pull their
it
belongings
because
out of
when
their
the
trunk.
street was wider, people were like passing?
People were speeding. We got a lot of
because
calls.
they had the leeway to do that.
Right. So that's what the hope is, in other areas throughout the county, that we can look at different things to implement that. And I want to see more of those type of projects go forward. Any way that we can make our streets feel safer for all people.
Safe
Absolutely.
and, out of the emergency rooms. Okay, what about, we've got about 30 seconds left, really quick. This Pearl Harbor Historic Trail, which many of us use as bike paths.
Sure, yeah. So the Pearl Harbor Historic Trail has been there for many years. It is a beautiful trail if you ever gone down there. But over the years, things have changed, and so the hope is to revitalize this vision for the Pearl Harbor Historic Trail from Arizona Memorial to as far as Nanakuli. In the district I represent, it's from about where Magru Point is, all the way down to about Fort Weaver Road in that area, so to the lower Waipahu area.
Wow.
And so my hope is that we could relaunch this plan that the community got together maybe some over 10 years ago, and really see sort of a mixed use type of thing where we can have maybe waterfront restaurants, or we can have people
develop it a little bit more.
Absolutely, and just really have historical markers on history on Pearl Harbor. Maybe have some bike share from the memorial to look at what's beyond the Arizona Memorial. And
That'd be a good fun family thing to do, huh?
Absolutely.
You get your family out, stop and have something to eat and learn a little history.
yeah.
Wow.